Okay. So as we I think we talked about a little bit last week, AEW teased at least one of these debuts pretty heavily last night. That being CM Punk. I think it's fairly certain that he is probably going to arrive in AEW soon. Obviously, heavily rumored that Brian Danielson, signed as well. But how would you, if you are one of the EVPs, if you are a head writer for AEW, or if you're Tony Khan, however these shows are put together, if you're putting that show together or these debuts together, how would you go about debuting Daniel Bryan and CM Punk in AEW?
CM Punk has to be done in Chicago. I don't know if that's as to the surprise entrant, or it just kind of comes out the way Christian Cage did, but he's got to be in Chicago. And the thing they're doing with Jericho, how long is that going to go? So yesterday was number 2 with Nick Gage. It's Juventud Guerrera next week. I would wrap up after the Juventud match, have MJF come out and say, like, your 4th challenge or whatever, and just be it's the American Dragon.
Okay.
Pop him at the end of the night. That's going to do a hella rating. The following Wednesday,
whatever shows
or whatever show that would fall
on. Scotty says CM Punk gives the go to sleep to Kenny Omega. Get back in my good graces, man. How about it? Tim or Matt?
I mean, I was going to say something similar to Ryan. So, I mean, you need to debut one of them at a pay-per-view. So if it's in Chicago, sure, that makes sense for Punk. And then the other should be a show, just a regular AEW episode, even though apparently TNT doesn't like them doing that. Break a few rules and do it once, because I think that is going to get more buzz for the next week than just saying, hey, Daniel Bryan is going to be here, because then people are like, oh, okay, cool.
Tim?
Yeah, just say, oops, I forgot to send the tweet.
So
did I not say that? I'm sorry.
Sorry, it was in my outbox. Outlook
on me.
Delivered the email.
Maybe.
I mean, I think honestly that it boils down to they need to come out together. I think Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are a package deal.
Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Did they come out in like a Trojan horse?
No.
On a tandem bicycle.
No. But I mean, like,
bring.
Do they have the little bell?
They keep using this phrase, best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody thinks that that's CM Punk. Daniel Bryan went by that moniker too. It's not just CM Punk's thing.
It's also Shane McMahon's thing.
It was CM Punk's thing in the WWE, though. That's what I think what everybody's referring to.
It was Daniel Bryan's thing in the WWE.
His was the Yesy stuff. Like, that's what people remember.
I mean, yeah.
In my humbled opinion. I think Daniel Bryan is... I get what you're saying.
He's more known for the yes stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
The Yesy stuff.
And
the Nopers.
I don't know if CM Punk could give the GTS to Braun Strowman or whatever he's going to call himself on the Indies. I would
muscles with beard.
a fun way, I think, to do the because they're going to promote the shit out of this episode of Rampage. From
Give it up once again for Muscles with Beard.
They're going to promote the shit out of this Rampage episode from United Center. So everybody's going to keep talking about best in the world, this and all that. Have Muscles with Beard come out when they're talking about this best in the world thing, and then do a lights out thing. Punk appears, and then you can hit Cult of Personality or whatever music he's going to have. But if he can do the GTS to Braun. I think that would be a great way. And whether you have Braun under contract or not, I mean, they're bringing people in left and right. And like I don't know how you go about, like, Punk's the easy one. I feel like Punk's the easy one. I don't necessarily know, and maybe it's part of the, because Daniel Bryan's been on record in interviews saying that he wanted to wrestle guys from Japan and things like, so maybe because you're having Japanese competitors in the IWGP US title every week, so maybe that's how you introduce Daniel Bryan is part of that, because that's been a big thing. I think that's probably a big catalyst as to why he's signing with AEW and not going back to WWE, is because he's able to work these matches that WWE wouldn't let him do. So maybe that's the introduction, is, you know, whoever's the IWGP US champion, you know, open challenge, need a competitor, Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson. Let's see,
Do you
Nicholas.
think that happens soon?
I mean, the rumor is he's not debuting until the US Open show, which is late September. Nicholas says have them as a team, leading to a big feud between them. I think, and it's going to be kind of bridging the gap between this topic and the next topic, but I think whatever is going to happen with crowds and shows and the pandemic may change whatever AEW's plan is with Punk and or Daniel Bryan. Because if your plan for Daniel Bryan is the shows at New York, let's be honest, there's a reasonable chance, or at least a possible chance, that show doesn't happen, at least not at the capacity that they're hoping it to be at. So if that's your plan, you know, maybe you bump it up into those Chicago shows. Maybe you debut them as a pair, so you at least get them out in front of the crowd while it's still there, and then you like, because I think and we can start talking about, because that was the final topic of the night. Like this is something, you know, there's reports this week that came out that AEW is concerned about the trend of, you know, we've seen COVID numbers going up. We've seen mask mandates starting to be reintroduced. They are from the report bodyslam.net that AEW is extremely concerned about the trend that the company's plans for shows in Chicago, New York, and St. Louis. Chicago, of course, being the planned site for AEW All Out, New York being the Grand Slam show, that there's concern that those events could be disrupted. This week we saw the CDC new guidelines urge vaccinated people to wear masks indoors. In Vegas this week, they institute, you know, they are encouraging or mandating in Las Vegas or in Nevada that indoors mask mandate. So that has an impact on SummerSlam.
It sure does.
That fans at SummerSlam, you know, they're not banning large events yet, but the fans at SummerSlam will have to be masked since it's an indoor show. So
I just kind of wish we had a sounder for SummerSlam that you said it 3 times in a row.
Well, if the board wasn't reloading again.
Oh, is it reloading again?
Reloading. But like, you know, it's if AEW's concern, if the concerns are real, and let's be honest, they probably should be at this point, then maybe you kind of bump up some of those plans. You know, I think it's going to have an impact on All Out and SummerSlam and, you know,
I'm slammed out.
All of these other shows.
We will ban you from the Summerfest.
I love it. It's my favorite. I fucking love it so much.
you know, like,
So what you're saying is, if AEW is concerned, how bad is this?
like, unless you have other thoughts on the Punk and Bryan stuff, but in terms of like, I think companies, I think right now, like you're back on the road, you're back in front of fans. And see, Charlie here has, if rumors are true, keep the debuts apart, don't do them so close together. In an ideal world, I think you're right.
What rumors is he referring to?
Punk and Bryan.
What, that they're going to be debuted together?
No, that they're both signing with AEW.
Oh, okay. Just the rumors.
Because obviously, like, it hasn't been officially announced. So
right. I don't think you officially announce it till they're on the show, though.
Oh yeah, I think
You
it's
don't just put up a Phil Brooks is all elite.
right. It's
post.
they show up and then you see
Yeah,
the graphic.
okay, got
Like it's that sort of thing. But like I think the concerns, the COVID concerns are real. I think because both companies, and when I say both companies, I mean WWE and AEW. Obviously, Impact is back to doing some shows with fans. Ring of Honor back to doing shows with fans. Indie Wrestling's starting to do more shows again. The Charlie, you have your dates. Because the Queen's show is not until September, right? The all out happens before the New York AEW show, I think. So Punk would debut before Bryan, not the other way around.
I get what he's saying.
Punk is set to debut. Yeah, Punk is set to debut SummerSlam week at the Rosemont show.
Slammed out.
Is that the pay per view?
No.
No. So Punk is not
the
scheduled,
Dynamite,
rumored.
excuse me, the Rampage show in Chicago that was announced last night at United Center is the Friday night of SummerSlam week.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rampage. My apologies.
And it's the first dance.
Right.
Got
So
it.
that would
Got it.
happen. SmackDown would be 8 to 10. Rampage comes on at 10, and then SummerSlam is the next day.
I hear
So
what you're saying.
and like it's makes sense, you know, get the buzz for the wrestling weekend. The focus, you know, AEW I think is smart on this. Get people talking about your show and not SummerSlam.
Slammed out.
100%.
Okay. Let's go back into the history books.
Yes.
WCW was told by Ted Turner, you're going to have a second show. It's called Thunder. Who did WCW acquire for Thunder specifically?
Bret Fart.
Yes. If they got CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, wouldn't you want to debut them on the Friday show that nobody's looking forward to give them a reason to be like, wow, Friday's it.
Right. I have to watch this show.
Yes.
100%. Charlie,
Aren't you
all out.
putting that
all
show at the time, like the worst possible time frame for that demographic that you're so desperately chasing? Like the Friday night 8 to midnight crowd, you're at a
10
bar,
to midnight.
or I'm sorry, 10 to midnight. Like it's just an awful sell, especially for the demographic. Like that is the active Friday night demographic.
Yes, but I think that with it being partnered up with, I think having it go after SmackDown is actually smart, because now if people are staying at home, SmackDown becomes the lead-in for the Rampage.
If you're already watching wrestling, you're tuning to Rampage.
And I'm not saying 8 to 10 is a better time slot because it's not.
No,
8 to
Friday's
10,
not.
Friday is awful.
Friday's not great in general for television.
I've watched a good bit of SmackDown on Friday nights in the last 15 months because
you didn't go anywhere.
because I've been home a lot.
Right.
if I start doing things on Friday nights, I'm not watching wrestling on a Friday night. But again, it comes back to my point is I mean, fans are going to consume it at some point. Charlie, to your question, All Out, not All In. All In was a few years ago. All Out is September the 5th. AEW Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium is September the 22nd.
Is that a pay-per-view or is that a
that is a Dynamite episode?
a Dynamite? Okay.
Yeah, that is a Dynamite episode.
And here's the deal. When AEW does these special Dynamites, the ratings are very positive. The last 3 weeks were over 1 million. The last 2 weeks, 1.1. So good episodes, good ratings, but they're, giving away pay-per-view-esque shows.
Right. When you name them, it gives the impression that it's bigger than just a regular episode of Dynamite.
Correct.
Like this week is Homecoming because they're going back to Daly's place.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully for the last time in a while, but we're newsflash.
Delta Burke's got something to say about that.
Breaking news. We are still in a pandemic. Shocking, everyone. They might be back in Daly's place before. Thank you, Tim. We may be back in Daly's place for AEW before too long. I think the really interesting thing is it's going to be with what's going to happen with these two is, obviously AEW brought fans back to Daly's place before WWE was back in front of fans. AEW was back on the road before WWE was back on the road. We saw Ryan's favorite Thunderdome up until just a couple weeks ago. But my question is, does AEW, because they have the amphitheater and they can do full capacity in Florida because Ron DeSantis doesn't believe in any science, do you think AEW would be the first to go back to their quote unquote home base and just do shows at Daly again in front of crowds, and WWE, because there is a buzz a little bit, not like back with crowds, you have Cena's summer tour and all of this, like they've clearly invested a lot into this summer. Like does WWE, are they the last one to react to this current surge, or are both companies just going to kind of let the municipalities wherever their shows are in kind of dictate what they can do?
I think we've learned a lot about this virus and this pandemic that we're not going to go back to. Things like the Thunderdome, more maybe controlled environments, sure. Masks indoors, probably. But I feel like what we've learned from the virus, a vaccine and a mask mandate would ultimately keep you rather safe at a show, that I don't think we would go back to not going to shows and not having crowds. But you're absolutely right. Daly's place, I mean, it has to be preferred for AEW to be able to fall back onto that. The implications around football season shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a problem. That's not going to interfere Wednesday nights and Friday nights. And
AEW, generally their pay-per-views are Saturday nights.
Right. So you're probably in a pretty good spot. Are you going to tape
and
Rampage?
Who the fuck goes to Jaguars games anyway?
That's a good point.
If we're being totally honest,
that's a good point.
And they're not getting a lot of primetime game, so you could do, if it is a Sunday pay-per-view, you go the Jaguars at 1. The 40 people that go to those games, they file out single file, and then AEW has Daly's place.
It's all Minshaw's family.
Right.
They got Lawrence now. They'll probably get some more fans.
Oh, it's Tebow country too.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
so like 140 people. So.
He hasn't been cut yet, so there's that.
Give it a-
You discount how much of white America has been begging for Tim Tebow to come back
That's
to
true.
football.
I don't discount that.
Florida. Okay, so yeah, they might get like 1,000 people.
What's the student body and alumni size of the University of Florida?
Well, student body is probably bigger than alumni because to be alumni you have to graduate, and it is Florida.
You mean to tell me they ain't smart enough to graduate at the University of Florida?
I said what I said. But back to the point, like, how do we think the next? And it feels weird to be back even talking about this because I've like it was March of last year, and I don't think I agree with you, Ryan. I don't think we get back to full lockdown, shutdown, empty building. I don't think we get to that. For multiple reasons. But how do you think the next couple months look? Do we see some capacity limits as we go into fall and winter? So the 19,000 tickets sold now become 10,000 tickets. Like I think that's a more realistic thing, and I think kind of what like Madison Square Garden's doing, and I think we're starting to see it in with different businesses. I've seen there's I think there was a restaurant chain or something that said today that the only way you can dine indoors is with proof of vaccination. So I think we may start seeing that, like Madison Square Garden. The WWE has a SmackDown in September. MSG requires proof of vaccination. So I think
it's going to be tough for Sasha Banks to get through the doors, huh?
Yeah. I mean, sadly there's probably many a wrestler that are going to struggle to get in the door on those shows.
Right, her.
Yep.
That's your Riker impression? That was pretty spot on.
No, that was me doing a dance that sounds like it should also be done while saying Eddie Guerrero.
Got
it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, I think that's more the ticket. Unless there's some degree of shutdown or banning of large events, which I don't know that we get back to. I think we're in a situation where you might see capacity limits or vaccination required.
Pod seating, I think would work.
Sure, you were at a concert last weekend, right?
I was, and it was pod seating on like the track, and then it was individual rows in between anything and like a grandstand seating. So it felt really safe to see that. And as soon as like the first act came on, everybody got up out of their pods and went to the front of the stage. And
so what you're telling me is pod seating works.
Pod seating looks weird, and if everybody just stays seated at a concert like they're supposed to, we'll all have a great time. Sit down.
Well, I mean, if people followed recommendations and intelligence, we probably wouldn't be talking about a surge right now. Let's see. Devin here says, my hope is next 2 months.
Too many words. Get it off the screen.
Start going down. People start listening. He really wants to take his nephew to the show coming up at the end of September. I think, WWE coming up at the end of September here.
The Super Show.
The Super Show. Matt, Tim.
I don't think we're going to see CM Punk debut the way Matt Hardy debuted with nobody. That will never happen. Those things aren't going to happen.
Correct. I will agree. I will definitely agree with you on that one. Matt or Tim, your thoughts on what the next couple months might look like with wrestling?
I think they'll just go business as usual for the next couple months.
What pandemic?
Good or as bad of an idea as that may be, it's going to depend on the state. But I think it's just going to be full speed ahead because they want to make their money before the government tells them that they have to shut down.
What you're telling me is both companies are going to do more business in Texas and Arizona and Florida and Alabama.
For sure.
It's going to be the great Southern tour of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be business as usual, and they'll adjust when they have to adjust. They will not be proactive at all.
Yeah.
It will be a very reactive move, if anything.
Yeah,
We
I
didn't
think so.
send that restrictions email. Oh shit!
Oh shit! It's in the,
It's in the outbox.
That's also.
Oh,
in the
they
outbox.
said it was a suggestion. It was
Right.
a recommendation.
Damn it! My bad,
know,
guys.
I agree with that. Like, and it's I think we're going to justify this problem in this country the way we justified tons of other problems in this country, and just go, well, it is what it is, guys. Just people are gonna die, so let them die, I guess. So it's what we do here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Garth Brooks.
Right. Hey, look at this is really exciting over here. Don't worry about that stuff over here. This is really exciting over here on this side of the world. But yeah, reactive, like I said, if there's capacity limits, if there's vaccine requirements, things like that per venues or per cities or whatever it is. But yeah, I definitely don't think we go back to, I don't think we see the Thunderdome again. Ryan, I know it breaks your heart. You're so sad. You miss it. I think you took. I actually think that's why you took the week off. You've been so stressed out because you didn't get to tune in and see your screens every week on Monday Night Raw.
Fucking thing sucks.
Yeah. I think AEW would possibly be the first one to go back to that home base just because they have a home base with fans. WWE doesn't. And I think, with Cena and all of that.
Could you imagine the spin Tony Khan puts on that? We love and respect our fans and want to keep them the safest possible. Unlike the other brands, that's why we're taking our product back to Daly's Place.
And it'll be great. It'll be great.
It is a great decision.
Daly's Place is great. Dynamite's great. Rampage is great.